Welcome on into the show, everybody. It is episode 3, season 8 here for the Hoopers Log personally, but we're here on the third Tuesday of the Hoopers Log episodes and all of the other episodes that are going on the Lead SM, on Podbean, and all these other places that you can listen to us here on our network. And as you all know, the preseason has gotten underway. The Nets destroyed the Lakers on Sunday. And well, here it comes. Tipped off. 2 weeks from the start of the regular season, as of tonight in the NBA, and the preseason has been something of a topic over the last however many years, or God knows however many years, and it's been a circumstance and a situation where, when you look at how everything's kind of gone on over the past time and space and etc. And the preseason for most sports, and how it usually lays out, is it's an opportunity for coaches and staff and players and bench players and newer players and guys who got training camp invites, etc. Those guys usually were the ones that came in and had the opportunity to get their name out there and do what they needed to do to have a chance at making a team, or making the team that they're currently on with the role that they're given. And that's generally what the preseason has become and should be and what it needs to be. But I think for the most part in the NBA, over time, as things become more and more overlaid, it's become more and more of a formality that those things happen. Now, that's not to say that they don't happen. That's not to say that guys don't come out, undrafted or drafted in a lower position, or guys who are picked up overseas, etc., guys who are seen in a training camp, etc., weren't given some time, potentially picked up from D League or G League. You know the point. And it's one of those things where I think the preseason has kind of become a formality in that regard, in essence of what it is that we look for, have how we expect the regular season to become. And I think the unfortunate reality of the preseason is it's become more and more of just a formality of what we can expect to see or think we're going to see as the regular season shapes up. It's not a lot of that. It's a lot of, walk through, practicing how to get to the gym, practicing how to get to, or should I say, the arena, practicing how to get ready for the game, practicing for the events and how it all lays out and starts off again, and kind of getting those feet wet again. Whether you've been a vet for 20 years like LeBron, or you're in your second or third year like Lonzo Ball or guys like that, like you've been around the league long enough. But I still think after 3-4 months this year, 2 months, really 2.5 months since the season ended, for most teams 3 to 4 months, everybody needs to get their feet wet. And I think that that's ultimately what the preseason has become here over the last, I think, 5-6 years. I remember when I first jumped into this, and I remember talking about the preseason and hyping it up and being like, okay, what kind of narratives, what kind of information can we pull from the preseason to dictate what's going to happen and who we're going to see take the next step in the next role and whatever circumstance and play out that they want to see. And honestly, as time has moved forward, the only couple of things that I've seen that you can pull from the preseason as time moves forward is really kind of narratives that you can set walking into opening week. And that, I mean, for example, what was it, I want to say 2017 was when the Clippers got beat by 50 by the Golden State Warriors. That was really the last preseason event. Maybe when Lonzo Ball started as well, but that was also 2017. That was really the last preseason that I can remember stepping back and saying, okay, there's some narratives being built here that we can walk into and have and be excited about walking into the regular season. This is another one of those years, I feel like, in 2022, or excuse me, 2021, 2022, that you can look at and you say, I mean, is it really going to be that much of a difference, or is it going to be that much of a change in regards to how the overall layout of teams are going to look based on what they do in the preseason? I don't think so. And I think that circumstance and that situation is kind of what it is this year. That's not to say, again, that a random guy doesn't kick in for a team and jump in on their third unit or their second unit in portions of ball games, or even maybe potentially in the first month or two of the season. They don't become maybe more of an X factor to get their team out to a hot start, whether that's in the standings or whether that's in a lead in a game or whatever. That may or may not happen, but the chances of it happening have become more and more and more rare as we become more and more and more informed on the sport of basketball. I mean, shoot, we're so informed on the sports now, on all of sports, that we're to the point where we know what guys are going to do 2 or 3 years in advance if they put the work in. I mean, we've got it that much down to a science. And that's a cool thing. I mean, I think that's a good thing. I think there's pros and cons. The pros are that things like the preseason and the regular season don't really mean a whole lot for the NBA. I mean, for other sports, obviously the NFL regular season's huge. And in baseball and in Major League Baseball, it just came to a close. You got the AL wild card starting tonight, and when it comes down to it, you kind of get a sense of how teams are going to operate and what they're going to do. But the regular season, you can already get a sense of how it's going to play out based upon how guys have done on advanced metrics. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but it kind of takes the mystical nature of sports away from it a little bit. And I think that's unfortunately one of the downsides that have happened with all the information, information overload that we've had here over the last however many years. And as it's gotten better and better and better, one of the downsides of what sports has become in regards to what we see playing out. And the preseason, in all reality, is just a major formality in getting things ready. And again, it's good. It's a really good warm-up for everybody, players, broadcast teams, coaches, staffs, front offices, everybody getting ready for that 6-month grind that's going to happen here from mid-October all the way through mid-April. So it's the dark days are coming in regards to days getting darker, and then they'll get brighter as Christmas ends. As we all know, Christmas is one of the biggest days in the NBA, if not the biggest regular season day outside of maybe the All-Star break and a couple other games that happen late in the year, or big-time matchups that happen on TNT or even ESPN on Fridays, or things of that nature. But that's all coming down the turnpike. It's really right around the corner now, and I think it's really an exciting time to sit back and lay out how it's all going to play itself out. Me, this weekend, it's interesting. I was at 2 of the 3 Mariner games to decide the playoff scenario for them. Unfortunately, it all didn't play out because, baseball, right? 162 games. For Mariners, first time they'd won 90 games, and since 2003, it's their best year in 20 years. I mean, outside of the 2001 year, it's been their best year in 20 years. They've had an unbelievable year. I mean, they were a game out of going to the wild card. I mean, they had a great year. I mean, it's very funny because you had the Blue Jays and the Mariners, two very different styles. The Blue Jays had an MVP candidate in Vladimir Guerrero Jr. You had Marcus Semien, who had an unbelievable year as a second baseman. Dante Bichette, Junior Bichette. They had a really, really, really powerful offense. Whereas the Mariners, they had a minus 50 run differential, and they won 90 games based on pitching and finesse and really doing everything they could to win ball games. I mean, they had to eke out like at least 50 of their 90 wins this year were just eke out attempts, and they did an unbelievable job. But they were not, I don't think if you looked at the way they played this year, were built to be what they became. That was off topic. That's what I did this weekend. I was at the Mariners games, and pretty emotional Sunday night. Kyle Seager probably going to be gone. He has a club option for $20 million. He's not worth that. But he was out when the Nationals had just lost to the Red Sox early portions of the ninth inning. You saw how that played out, and it was emotional. The guy had been in Seattle for 10 years. 10 long years. Garbage years in regards to how the Seattle Mariners have been the last 20 years. As we all know, they have not made the playoffs in 20 years. And I was there, and that's what I did. I didn't really watch much basketball or get in tune, but as you all know, it's all going to start coming down the turnpike relatively soon. Speaking of other news real quick before we get back to the basketball and the excitement that we have moving forward, I know a lot of the social media apps have kind of gone wonky here in the last day or two. I don't know how much it's impacted you, but honestly, I get a lot of my news everywhere on that. Fortunately, Twitter's still up, so I still get some news there. But a lot of the promotional outlets that I provide, which is on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and, all of the usuals and everything, a lot of them are starting to go wonky. And so I think how we're going to provide content for this show in particular, the Hooper's Log, is going to be fascinating moving forward if these things become more and more wonky as time moves forward. But this week will be interesting. Week 3, episode 3, season 8 will be interesting. It's the first time in 8 years that I will be like, whoa, no regular promotional pieces, because I don't know how the hell it's going to go moving forward with everything. But anyway, preseason basketball, we're here. We are in the thick of it and how it's all going to play itself out. And when you see how certain teams are built right now, and you look at the Eastern Conference, you look at the circumstance going on in Philadelphia right now. I wanted to shift gears from the preseason and the excitement that is, we're 2 weeks away from the season starting. It's October. It's a great time. It's one of the best times of the year in sports. I mean, football's underway. Football is clearly underway. You have easily a month in regards to football. Baseball playoffs are here, and then obviously the NBA season, which is why you're all listening, is here in 2 weeks. So what's the biggest news story? What's the biggest conversational piece in the NBA that's happened over the last however many weeks? And that is the Ben Simmons saga. And I'll give you my take on Ben Simmons, because it's been kind of a piece and a narrative that's taken place here over the last, I want to say 3-4 months. Honestly, ever since the Philadelphia 76ers got eliminated from the playoffs, it's been one of those deals where you sit back and you look at the Philadelphia 76ers and you say, my God, what are they going to turn into? Not to be shocked. I mean, I've seen the 76ers win 10 games. I've been in the media so long now, at least from the small market perspective, that I've seen the 76ers be a 10-win team to now be, a fringe 60-win team. They've been a fantastic organization in regards to turning it around. But Ben Simmons was supposed to be that cornerstone. It's been 5 years since he got drafted in 2016. Everybody had high praise for him. People were saying he was the next LeBron James, etc. Well, you can still say that he's the next LeBron James, minus the fact that offensively, confidence-wise, he has none. He has no confidence. No confidence anywhere in regards to scoring the basketball. Everything else, he's phenomenal. He's fantastic. He's incredible. But at some point, you have to have your points set up, your ability to do everything else. He doesn't let that happen. For some reason, there is something psychological going on with Ben Simmons where it's preventing him from scoring the basketball on top of, God forbid, oh, my voice cracked there. Yeah, see, that's what happens when you have the Mariner game. You got a playoff run going on. On top of the fact that when it comes to Ben Simmons and this circumstance that's going on in Philadelphia, and people are going to spin it one way or the other, whether they agree with him or disagree with him, whether they want him to be in Philly or not. The bottom line is this: you can't just, because you've either signed a contract or not. If I'm not mistaken, he's still under contract with Philadelphia. I don't know the circumstance. Either way, he's being withheld, $8+ million for whatever for not being there. And it turns into a scenario where you're like, dude, you kind of are getting what you're asking for. You keep threatening the franchise that you're not going to be there and that you don't care and that you never want to play for them again and that you don't want to and that you don't and that you don't, right? And it turns into this, well, okay, you're not going to show up. You're not going to do your job, so you're not going to get paid. I mean, real world scenario here. Like anybody else who's ever been in a circumstance to where they are, that's just what happens. You don't show up, you don't do your job, you threaten to not be there. You tell everybody and their mom on social media or wherever the heck you want to put it out for to be seen that I'm not interested in playing for the organization that I've signed a contract towards, that I've put my time towards, because I either don't agree or because I don't feel like I'm getting paid enough or because I'm upset or because I don't want to be here or for whatever reason. At the end of the day, you signed a contract to be in a circumstance, in a situation that is allowing you to make the money that your agency, that your family, that anybody else is allowing you to provide and to have. Yet, you'll take all the sacrifice and the risk to do so. Now, I obviously haven't heard Ben Simmons' side in regards to how he feels about the Philadelphia 76ers withholding money from him or from the fact that he doesn't want to be there anymore. If he's willing to pull the Le'Veon Bell, yes, I make that a phrase now. Because let's be honest, when Le'Veon Bell decided to sit out for his $14 million salary because he felt like he was more valuable, he lost a ton of money. I got a feeling Ben Simmons is doing the same thing. Let's be honest. Ben Simmons, outside of his defensive prowess and his vision on the court, what good is he really on the basketball court? Let's just be 100% honest here. What good does he really provide? If you took away his defensive prowess and his vision, what is he? I mean, he's nothing. He's literally garbage. He's not even in the league. He's not even in the D League. He's out playing on some 21 hoop, playing with a bunch of scrums out in the middle of a park in the middle of nowhere. That's what he is. I mean, that's just the facts. That's not a debate. Defensively, he's elite. We all know he should have probably won Defensive Player of the Year last year. He was in the conversation, no debate. And we all know his vision is fantastic. He is an absolute just diamond in the rough regarding his ability to pass the basketball. He's unbelievable. He can't score. I mean, everybody watched the playoffs last year. He couldn't score. Certain nights he had it, but for the most part he didn't. He can't score in this league. And whether that's because he's not confident or whatever, I brought it up before, but you can't sit there and complain about where you're at when you can't even do it yourself. You know what I mean? If you can't even hold your own water, what room is there for you to complain? If Ben Simmons was the good soldier here, and he came out and he said, hey, I've done what I'm supposed to do here, and I don't want to be here for X, Y, and Z, and I feel like this organization needs to make a change, and if I have to be a part of that, then great. Then more power to him, and if he came to work and did his job, great. But holding out for what you're doing and what you have and the opportunities that you have laid out in front of you are not a good look. I mean, think about it. You're an NBA player who makes gobs of money, just absolute gobs of money, to the point where any of us in this world, 99.8% of us in this world, if we made the kind of money that you made, we would just say, we're done, I'm out, deuces. And nobody'd blame you. Shoot, if I was handed $5 million right now, I'd quit my job. I'd find somewhere in Midland America, buy that home, hang out, play MLB 2K. Excuse me, not MLB, my bad. MLB The Show for hours, work out, hang out, eat, reinvest in whatever I needed to reinvest in to make sure I have the money that I need to have to keep coming in. And I'd call it a life. I'd be set. I'd raise my baby girl. I'd be set. Don't get me wrong, to be a professional athlete or to be someone who has to have that kind of intensity level to play at this level of any kind of sport, or even in the military, or God forbid being a policeman or firefighter or any of those intense military, all of those things, to be in those kind of fields, you got to have a mindset that's next level. And he's probably got the next level mindset that he doesn't want to be where he wants to be anymore because he's got an ideology of where he does want to be. And that's fair. And that's strong-minded, that's strong-willed. There's nothing wrong with that. And I ain't faulting Ben Simmons for that perspective at all, but there's ways to approach it. There's absolutely ways to approach it. You can't just come in and be like, me, I don't want to be here. This isn't where I ultimately want to be. I disagree with somebody and let me go. Now, again, like I said, to his credit, I have not heard him complain about the fact that he's not getting paid. I have not heard him complain about any of the things that's going on outside of him not wanting to be there. So if he actually doesn't show up in Philadelphia, if he doesn't get paid, if he doesn't complain, then where am I to say that he's wrong, right? If he doesn't fulfill his contract or show up for his contract to do what he's supposed to do, and he's not complaining about it, well, what's wrong with that? You're just living with your consequences, right? I mean, you created your consequences. You're now living with your consequences. So then who am I to judge and say, okay, this guy's in the wrong? Because if he's living with his consequences, then where do I sit in, right? Does it frustrate me that he's, complaining and being melodramatic in the fact that, oh, man, I don't want to be here because of me? Or because he's just being selfish, right? Yeah, that's frustrating. But if he's not complaining that he's not getting paid and that all the consequences are coming his way, well, then what else more is there to complain about, right? Other than the fact that if you're a Philadelphia 76ers fan, you've got a drama king on your hand, and you got a guy where you sit there and you say, okay, like, this is my team. What do we do outside of a questionably healthy Joel Embiid? Because his whole career, Joel Embiid would have probably won the MVP last year if he stayed healthy, but it always seems to be the same narrative with him ever since he came into the league. Will he stay healthy? It's always been a narrative. There's no knock on him. That's just the narrative. That's just the facts. And without Ben Simmons, and whether Ben Simmons likes him or not, or doesn't, whatever the news or rumors have become regarding those two relationships, etc., you look at it and you start to say, well, what's the point then? If you're the GM of the 76ers and you are looking to move him and trade him and get him out the door, then obviously you're trying to find the best move for you. Just because Ben Simmons wants something doesn't mean that the ownership or the head coach or whomever's in control of changing his arrangements regarding his playing style or playing ability or playing where he needs to go. That has nothing to do with Ben Simmons. He's not in control of that destiny. He's not a free agent. That's just how it works. That's how these rules work. Everybody knows this. Nobody's stupid. Everybody who listens to this podcast or listens to this network team who's full of brilliant minds, beautiful voices, and just absolutely fantastic people. I'm gushing here, but it's true. I mean, everybody knows this. You got to come at it the right way. You know, the way you present yourself sometimes is also the way that you can bury your own hole. And you don't want to bury your own hole, Ben Simmons. You're a fantastic basketball player. Absolutely fantastic. You're one of the best point guards in the league. You're a top 30 point guard in the world. I mean, think about that. If not, probably top 20. I don't know. Maybe I'm being nice. But you get my point. Defensively, phenomenal. Offensively challenged. Outside of scoring the basketball, he's actually a really great player. But he's got a lot to improve upon. And to sit there and think that you're bigger than what your contract is, or you're bigger than the team, or you're bigger than this, that doesn't look good for other teams when they're trying to shop you around. You know, I know a lot of people don't remember this name or will be like, damn, throwback, want to throw this name out there, but O.J. Mayo. And that might not be fair because O.J. Mayo was going through his own problems, whether it was with drugs, etc. That's not the point. The point is that he, with his decisions at the end of the day, whether we agree with them or not, they impacted his team. He was one of the better players on that Bucks team back in the mid 2010s. He was a big name on that team. And the problem is that he decided for himself to make the selfish decisions to ruin his chance in the league. I'm not saying Ben Simmons is O.J. Mayo. I put their names in the same sentence. But don't sit here and tell me that I think that they're the same talent, because Ben Simmons is way more talented than O.J. Mayo. But y'all forget, O.J. Mayo at one point was anointed as the next LeBron James in high school. Y'all forget about that. Y'all forgot. I don't know. Maybe we got a bunch of 17-year-olds listening to my pod now. But y'all forgot about that. O.J. Mayo at one point was anointed as one of the best players in middle school. He was anointed as being the next LeBron. That's a big set. Ben Simmons, same conversation. Anointed as the next LeBron. So I guess in some regards they are in the same category. O.J. Mayo, whether he did it to himself or has an addiction problem or whatever the reason was, kicked himself out of the league. Ben Simmons, painting a picture right now of a dude that really doesn't want to play basketball. Let's all be honest. Oh, but Chris, he wants to play in LA, or he wants to play here, or he wants to play. No. Don't get it twisted. Dude don't want to play basketball right now. If you really love the sport of basketball, you wouldn't care about where you played. Look at Russell Westbrook. I mean, let's just break it down, right? I know it's not fair. Russell Westbrook's got one of the most legendary motors, legendary energy levels of all time in NBA history. It's not fair to compare the two. But Russell Westbrook, he played for the Thunder. Obviously, he went to a great organization, the Thunder, his first 5 years. 5, 6, 7 years of his career. First half of his career on the Thunder, right? KD leaves. Obviously, Harden had already left. And it's him. It's just him. He has to create something. Becomes MVP. Gets triple-doubles, 3-4 years in a row? I mean, breaks the all-time. He's Mr. Triple-Double now. All-time triple-double record. All he does is try and play and hard. There's no I want to play here, I want to play there mentality. It's just this is all he does. He's probably done it. He's probably said I'd rather play here, etc. But he never dictated it or made it a thing off the court to make it a more than a basketball problem. Because whatever Russell Westbrook did on the basketball court, he proved to everybody why he was there. Ben Simmons is proving to why he doesn't want to exist in the NBA. If he wants to go play overseas and make money in the EuroLeague because that's the team he's decided to eventually get to, fine. Okay? Nobody's going to hurt him for that. But the moment you hear Ben Simmons complain about the fact that, they're not letting me play, or this isn't happening because of this reason, or blah, 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 blah. Dude, you legitimately told the team, I'm never going to play for you again. You told them the reasons why you'd rather play somewhere else. You've from the rumors and the things I've heard, is that he's talked about the big-time players on the team and why he just doesn't agree with them. He doesn't agree with the coaching staff. Like, hello, you're opening up all the doors, all the wounds, all the problems as to why you don't want to be there and to why you ultimately don't want to play in the league anymore. Like, let's be honest. Let's just make it black and white. You don't want to play for the Sixers. You don't want to play in the league. That's your only option. Unless they trade you, which is their option, as the team that's under control. That's just the facts. Sorry, I've been through this rodeo. I'm a Spurs fan. I saw what Kawhi did. Now, We lost this bet, but do any of y'all think that Kawhi Leonard and Ben Simmons are in the same category right now? Absolutely not. Now, maybe right now, who knows? Kawhi's been hurt and going through his own thing, but in 2018 and 2019, those 2 years combined, the 2017 to 2018 and 2018-2019 seasons, the Spurs lost that. We lost that. But does anybody in their right mind put Ben Simmons in the same category as Kawhi Leonard? No. I made the debate back in the 2017-2018 season when Kawhi missed the season because he was hurt on top of this whole willy-nilly, will he show up, will he play, will he not, is he butthurt, does he mad? You know, he made the same argument. Does he really want to play in the league anymore? Or does he just want to bitch and moan until he gets his way? Right? Like, what's the narrative here? What is the conversation that Ben Simmons is actually trying to create outside of him leveraging his power? I don't think Ben Simmons has a whole lot to leverage. Kawhi Leonard had his own offensive moves back in 2018 and 2019. He could score his own bucket. Kawhi Leonard was a walking bucket. All Ben Simmons is a walking bounce pass. All right? Like, he's a walking bounce pass, skip pass, defensive perimeter juggernaut. That's all he is. When it comes to actually throwing a basketball at a cylinder twice the size of a regular-sized basketball, he is not good at it. That is not smart to be leveraging your skills as an NBA basketball player when you can't throw that orange thing into an orange cylinder. That is not a smart move. Because unfortunately, the way the league has evolved and the way the league has become, Ben Simmons, I don't know if you just bury your head in the sand or if you don't know this, but let's be 100% honest here. This guy named Steph Curry and this other guy named James Harden, and especially this guy named LeBron James, even LeBron has admitted this. This game has evolved so drastically from the overall all-around experience to now it's a perimeter-oriented, score inside, dominate the scoring game basketball style. That's what it's become. And you can't score the basketball very well. So you saying that you don't want to play for the 76ers kind of falls on a lot of deaf ears. Because you know what that tells other teams? Hey, when the going gets rough and he gets tired of being here, you know what that means? Shoot, he might just want to go somewhere else. Look at some of the young players who've had those same problems. I mean, look, shoot, ain't nobody, to me, is going to really say anything bad about Zion Williamson. But let's all be 100% honest here and be 100% fair. Dude even said it himself in a random press conference. Yeah, man, New York, shoot, what a great place to be. I love it. Man, you can't beat playing in the Mecca. And then some bozo in the media, which ain't really a bozo question, but he might have been a bozo himself, said, hey, how do you feel about playing in New Orleans? Literally the same phrasing of what he asked in New York, and he said the same thing. So then you sit there and you say, well, what does he really believe? Right? Chris, how did you get to Zion? This isn't about Zion. This isn't fair. Zion's a great kid, blah, 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 blah. Well, I mean, when you start throwing things out to the media who never helps you, and you have them twist your words for you, and you make it so easy, you make it hard for other teams and other organizations to believe, okay, he actually wants to play here. Or, hey, he actually has a chance. Or leverage-wise, or politically, or in any other circumstance that you can name or list or be a part of, you hurt not just your credibility, but your leverage and your ability to operate free agent-wise. Because let's be honest, I understand 20, 30 other teams would love to sign a Zion. Or when Ben Simmons is a free agent, sign a Ben Simmons. But let's be 100% honest here. Ben Simmons, he just does not have the skill set as a guy like, as a guy that he thinks that he is. If he did, if he was a Kawhi Leonard, I'd have a different tune because guess what? I have seen and I have witnessed the whole Kawhi Leonard experience. Not just as a fan, but as somebody who's been in the media, I've seen it. And if Ben Simmons was on any kind of level as Kawhi Leonard, I'd be sitting here saying, you know what? Yikes. Yikes for the 76ers. This is a yikes for Ben Simmons. A big-time yikes. Chris, why did you talk about Zion Williamson? I talked about Zion because Zion didn't help himself in the negotiating period in a couple years from now when he's a free agent, potential free agent. If he wants to come back to New Orleans, great. If he doesn't, who do you really think is going to want to sign him when he goes and plays in New York again? New York's just going to be like, you want to play here? You got to play here at a discount. Because you made it your choice. You made it your point to say, oh yeah, you want to play here so bad? Here, we'll pay you less if you want to play here so bad. And if he chooses it, great, good for Zion. But he loses his ability to negotiate at the table, or his agents lose the period to negotiate. Well, all you got to do is pull up that 20-second clip of him just gushing over the fact that he gets to play at the Mecca. That's all you got to do. Hey, your client wants to play here at a great level. Instead of that $120 million max, I'm just throwing random numbers out. Instead of that $120 million max, how about we give him an $80 million max and see if he really wants it? This is where we negotiate. And then we negotiate, and then if we don't negotiate very well, you know what happens? Okay, Zion, you can come here for 95. Whoa, Zion's worth more than that. No, Zion told us that he wants to play in the Mecca so bad that he'd take a discount. Bam, discount taken. Now Zion's credibility in regards to his ability to negotiate a deal has changed completely. And that new contract that he signed to either go to New York or not has now shifted in his ability to negotiate the next contract, which we all know NBA players, their goal is to get 3 contracts. That's their goal. I mean, if you want to go long term, now if you want to be LeBron James, you can get 900 contracts because, let's be honest, LeBron James signed infinite amount of one-year deals when he was in Cleveland and in Miami. I think in Miami he signed a 3 or 4 year deal, but if that's not the case, the point being is when he got to Cleveland the second time, he signed like 3 or 4 one-year deals every single year because that's just what he did. That was to maximize his entire capability because he knew that the salary cap was rising. Smart on him. He's a genius. I mean, shit, I bash LeBron so often, right? I ain't going to diss the man's business acumen. Like, dude's brilliant. Dude's brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant business-wise. Absolutely. But in regards to what Ben Simmons is doing right now, and what's funny is aren't they if I'm not mistaken, they're in the same thing, right? They're in the same exact ballpark in regards to their agency. So has the agency of Ben Simmons, which is technically LeBron James, have they just taken a complete nosedive on him and said, yeah, he can't score, he can't do this, etc., or maybe he's not as smart as we thought, or who knows what the case may be, right? And they've just said, well, we've given up on him. We've completely given up on him. I'm just trying to help you out, Ben. I don't know what else to do, but let's be honest here. You ain't helping yourself if you can't score the ball. Everything else is great. Defensively, passing, vision, fantastic. Your ability to score the basketball is trash at best. It is absolutely trash. And you don't have any leverage to do what you're doing right now, so it's really, really hard to believe you. So I don't know how this turned into a conversation directly at Ben Simmons, but let's all be honest here. This is kind of the biggest story in the NBA, and it's been one of the biggest stories over the last however many months now. And I wanted to piggyback on it and give you my opinion. Okay, next week, episode 4, we're going to give you our pre-season predictions, or our regular season predictions, as I should say, for what I think is going to happen awards-wise, everything else. I hope the audio and the buzzing in the background disappeared in regards to, what you were hearing last week. Next week, I can't promise that I'll be on the same headset because I'll be honest with you, I've been so dang busy with life and just everything, and with the holidays now coming around the corner, and you get how it goes. Everybody knows. Having a baby, just life, right? And work is crazy. Everything's crazy. We all know how it all goes. So I can't promise you being back on this, but hopefully I sounded a lot better here, and hopefully I'll use it in the future. And let me know if it sounds better. If it doesn't, well, then we'll just figure it on out. All right? Episode 3 in the books. Episode 4 next week. We'll give you our season predictions here on the Lead SM on Podbean and all the other places that you listen to us. All right, thanks again for listening, everybody. Have a good one.